Welcome to the Virtual Stab Comedy Theater. It's time for the Suzette Veneti Show. Please welcome to your screen, Suzette Veneti.
You think you're hot shit, I love it, I love it, yeah, yeah. Stumbling, but yeah, you're still looking hella fun. Keep doing what you're doing, and we'll make you mine. Well, you're a hot mess, and I'm falling for you, and I'm like, hot damn, let me make.
Hi everybody, it's 5:03 and it's a Sunday, which means it's time for the Suzette Veneti Show. The Suzette Veneti Show, hosted by the only drag princess who almost locked her keys in her storage unit yesterday, which wouldn't have been today before the show, but it wouldn't have been the first time, and it would have sucked also because I was on my way to a gig and it was 30 miles away, so that would have been a problem. Hi, I'm Suzette Veneti. Today's show is going to be a great show like every show. I have a phenomenal guest, and I am excited to bring this guest on. I don't have much of a monologue, so there's not going to be much of that going. And Chelsea just messaged. She's not going to be able to, you know what? She's not going to be able to make it because she says she's driving and cell reception keeps cutting in and out. But it's really because I was really great at brunch today. And that's like, it can't happen. It's the world would end or something. I don't know. Anyway, what did I write down for the monologue? And then I'll get to my guest. Let's see. Sorry, this was quick for me. Just a correction from a joke in the last week's monologue. The Norwegian handball team wasn't fined for choosing to wear bikini bottoms. They were fined for choosing to wear shorts instead of bikini bottoms. And Pink offered to pay for the fine. And there was a lot of stuff in the news that I could have written monologue stuff about. I just, it was, one of those weeks. So my apologies. But yeah, so that correction. Okay. Today's guest is an amazing actor, stand-up comedian, writer, and MC. He's at the Laugh Factory on August 8th. And I was working on it. And Santa Monica, he's in Santa Monica on August 22nd, and the Broadway Comedy Club West, and then every Sunday at 2:30 he has a podcast, the Showtime and Kev podcast. I am so excited to have him here today. He's a fascinating and wonderful and talented and funny comedian. Please welcome to the show, Corey Showtime Robinson.
Oh, thank you, Suzette, for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. How are you?
I am. I'm honestly. I've been kind of sick. I think I'm just regular. Like, got a cold sick and not corona sick. But I'm all hopped up on weed and NyQuil. So this should be interesting either way.
Did you say weed and NyQuil?
Yeah, it's a good combination.
Oh, that's a lot of downers. Yeah.
It's like a hot toddy.
I had a he's not a weed advocate, but my guest last week was a comedian who smokes a lot, and we talked a lot about weed. I wish I could go back and ask him how weed and NyQuil, like what his opinion is of that. What's your opinion of that?
Of the combination of the two?
Yeah.
It's nice dreams, honestly, because the NyQuil puts you to sleep, and the weed makes sure your mind does funny things. So it's like, and I'm sure there's CBD in there somewhere that helps my body. I don't know. It makes me feel good. That's why I use it.
Okay, I like it. It sounds like a great way to get some sleep.
It is. It's the weekend, man. I got to be at work tomorrow. I can't afford to be sick. Like, my mom used to say that all the time. And like, now that I'm an adult, I don't have kids, so it doesn't matter as much as a single mother. But yeah, like, I get that now. It's like, yeah, I can't afford to be sick. I got things to do.
Yeah, and you never miss work. I read that in one of your Facebook posts.
Try not to, like, because, like, I've had so many crappy jobs that now that I got a good day job, hang on, LA's being LA behind me.
Go for it.
Yeah. I've had so many crappy day jobs, and now I have a good one. I get there early and stuff. So that's when I try to. And when it comes to comedy, like, if you cheat the game, you get left behind.
Yeah, no, that is how comedy can go. It's like a little bit like a language. Like, if you don't do it, then you start to lose it, and you have to work twice as hard to catch back up.
Absolutely.
So, what have you been? What have you got going on beside work and the podcast and the shows upcoming?
I've been trying to produce more live shows during the pandemic. I got pretty familiar with Zoom, like all of us had to, and was doing Zoom comedy, online shows. I did some online shows for a few of my other friends who were doing Zoom shows, and Punchline, and just now I also was doing VR. A buddy of mine from the Punchline convinced me to get a Oculus helmet, and that's been a lot of fun. But yeah, I've just been trying to get back into the swing of getting into public again, which is probably how I got sick.
So wait, is the VR stand up related or is it just games?
Yes. Well, the reason I got it was completely stand up related.
Okay.
My buddy Big Al Gonzalez, I'm sure if you haven't had him on the show, I'm sure he knows of you. He's a Bay Area comic. He lives in Texas now, and he linked up with some guys that were using VR and like got an Oculus and like had there's this program called Altspace VR, and you don't even necessarily need a helmet to use it.
Okay.
You just have to download the software, but it's like a it's meant for VR, and it's kind of like putting yourself inside of Animal Crossing or a video game like that, where you just interacting as avatars. Anyway, I did stand up like that, and my girlfriend's calling me, and she's not going to take no for an answer.
No, please. That's okay.
Hang on one second.
Just let her know we say hi.
Hang on. I'll put her on speaker. Now my phone doesn't work. This is awesome. It's going all the way on the rails.
This is one of the challenges of doing shows with technology. Technology is not always accurate.
Exactly. Watch her not answer now that I hung up on her twice. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. There it
That's
is.
probably going to be a fight for no reason. What was I saying?
You were telling me about, so let's backtrack a little. So I don't know the comedian that you mentioned. Big Al, you said?
Yeah, it's Big Al Gonzalez.
Big Al Gonzalez. Okay.
Yeah,
And I should
lives in Texas. Linked up with some guys doing VR. Got me on Altspace. Like I logged in on my computer while he had the headset on, and then showed me around the environment on how they do comedy, and like that sold me right then and there. I went and bought a helmet, and so I did VR stand up, where it's basically like you have like it's the closest thing to, it's better than a Zoom comedy show in the sense that this is 2D and that was 3D. Like I can't touch anyone, but they're semi there, if you know what I mean.
No, I'm interested. I'm like, so do I need a VR helmet to do it? But also I need to get booked. So that's a whole other problem.
Yeah, it's like it's 4-dimensional chess for it.
I'm in. I want to well, I mean, I need to be booked, period. But if I got booked in one of these, how much is a VR helmet?
They're $2.99, I believe.
Okay.
And they went cheaper because the one I got was $3.99.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm interested. Somebody out there should book me for a VR show.
Hey, if you've ever had a Nintendo Wii, then you should get an Oculus Quest.
So I've not, because I just don't play a lot of video games. But
That's fine.
Wii tempts me. I'm not gonna lie. Like Mario Kart. Like I would be a whore for Mario Kart, which is partially why I don't have video games, because I'm not sure I would do anything except play Mario Kart.
I think the Oculus is what the Wii was shooting for. Like they were trying to get that whole like put you in the game concept. This actually does it.
Okay. Well, I need somebody out there to date me or just be a sugar daddy. Send me an Oculus, and then also somebody else. It can be the same person or somebody else can book me. And then I need someone to regulate my Mario Kart time like a child. because I'll get lost on Rainbow Road somewhere. So okay, so you like the VR comedy?
I do.
You're the first person I've talked to. I've had people on the show who have done Animal Crossing shows where their character in Animal Crossing. We actually Stab Comedy Theater where I am right now. They have Haha Horizons, right? The show is Haha Horizons, and a bunch of comics go to a comedy club in Animal Crossing and they do a show.
Interesting. I didn't even know that. Like, I know Animal Crossing exists, but I don't have a Nintendo like that. So, like, that's just the easiest way I can, like, compare it. So,
Okay.
but I'd be interested in doing that too.
Okay. So, bookings for you, you've done Zoom shows, you're doing VR shows. Obviously, there was probably a dip because you weren't getting booked as much as in life, or maybe more because you could do more shows.
It was a dip for sure.
Okay.
I missed the in-person comedy for sure. And like it was cool to do Zoom shows, but it's just something's off. Like I don't know how else to explain it. Like it was just a little bit like I enjoy the challenge, but there's a whole dimension of what we're used to that's not there. VR was like if Zoom was 2D, VR is like 2.5, but 3D is that's all the way what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, and I'm starting to get back to that, but it was kind of weird because like I didn't know like if we're gonna shut back down again or how many vaccinated or the Delta variant. I wasn't sure if I should go back out on the road for my own safety. This whole situation has been really uncomfortable, but like not as bad as I thought, but still pretty awkward.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that yes, the last part, yes. I was still kind of fixated on the first part. I think it's not the same, and we talked a lot about it more last year on the show. Kind of a theme running through every interview. Stand-up comedy, when you take out the elements of it that make it what it is, it's not the same. The medium's different. You're not in front of live people, and that exchange isn't the same, even if it's on Zoom. So I definitely know what you're talking about with it being not the same.
For sure.
Sometimes I tell monologues at the start of the show, and I just stare at this webcam and just rattle them off, and I don't know if anyone likes them or if they're good. Sometimes I know they're good, but I don't get any feedback. So that's been tough. What's the benefit of doing the VR show over just a Zoom show?
The same reason you do a stage it's the same reason you go to get stage time. Like you need those reps. You need just the feeling of telling jokes in front of avatars, if not people. And you get some degree of that rhythm back. So it's kind of like shadow boxing. Like you may not be able to get a full sparring session in, but it'll still get your heart rate up. It'll still, serve a purpose.
Okay.
Like, it's still good. It's still good exercise for the comedy brain, for the comedy muscles.
Have you been getting bookings now that now we're in a weird place where it's like everyone just wear masks, but don't socially distance, don't worry about things, just wear a mask. Have you been getting bookings now that the world's been opening up?
Yes, happy to say that I have. Also like starting to figure out like I got to balance that with my day job and all that other good stuff. But I'm also producing a show pretty soon. Like you set it up top on the 22nd at the new Santa Monica Broadway Comedy Club West. And that's a whole other like can of worms because I like producing shows because of the control factor, but it's also stressful just trying to get asses in the seats. And now it's like, how many asses per table? And like, do I want to sell out? Can I sell out? Like it's, like I don't even know how to really go about it, but I'm diving back in.
No, I'm right there with you. I'm also producing a show on the 22nd. and I produced a show on May 23rd, and that show was capped at 60 people. We sold 55 tickets, so it was like cool, groovy. 92%, I think, sold.
Yeah.
I'm used to selling over 100 tickets though, so it was like, that's gonna make payroll a little tough to make. So it's this weird area where you want to do well, but you don't know how well you can do, and you don't know if people are going to trust to come out. And I feel like a lot of businesses are getting a bump, but then by August 22nd, I'm like, are people still going to, now we're back to masks, are people still going to go out? Like, what's it going to be like? What's the show you're producing at the Santa Monica, what's the name of Broadway Comedy Club West?
Like, it's like the Broadway Comedy Club in New York, but it's their West Coast chapter.
Okay.
And they're just getting started, and I'm producing a show on a Sunday, and hopefully that becomes a monthly thing.
Right on. Is it just a showcase, or?
Yeah, just a bunch of comics that I booked that I know are going to be great. We got Toby Hicks headlining. Got my buddy Terrence Washington, Jasmine Carter, Adam Elder. Two or three comics I'm forgetting right now, but Sal Trujillo. Yeah.
Okay. So I've heard of Jasmine Carter, mutual friends with her, and then Saul. I love Saul, one of my favorite people.
Sal's the best.
he is the absolute best. He's been on the show. He's been in my live shows before, and I've always told him, like, anytime he's coming through, like, let me know. If I have a show, he's on it. He's so good. So it sounds like it's going to be a great show.
Oh, damn sure is. And of course, hosted by yours.
Do you like producing?
I do. It's one of those things where it's like, at first I actually got into it out of spite back in the day, because I was assistant managing at a club in my hometown, and I fell out with them, so I just started something across town. And now I just kind of get off on the idea of like what's the word? I like putting together a good show. Like, from beginning, middle to end, I want to like put together a show that I think would, like, I used to watch Comic View back in the day. Like, that's ideally what I'd like to get on TV one day. It's like that stand-up show that kind of flows and everybody's funny. And, like, come out of it feeling like, damn, that was awesome. I saw like 5 comics and they were all great, you know?
Absolutely. No, I definitely understand that, because there's a feeling that you have when you do stand-up and you're just in a show and you're like, yes, I had a great show. But then there's this feeling when you produce a show, almost like when you cook, and everyone enjoyed the meal. And you're like, there were 5 courses and they went together and they elevated each other. And you remember the first course and you remember the second course and you remember what the last course was. And, like, wasn't it a good meal?
Yeah. Yeah. I also think of it kind of like sports. Like, I get to pick my team. You know what I mean? Like, this gets, like, I can put together all the best teams I can, like, and then put it out there. Like, damn, they scored 1 million points. Like, yeah, I did.
So which sport do you, I'm curious, because I have my own sport that I like in, because I love sports. So which sport do you like in producing a show to?
Either basketball or boxing.
Really? Okay.
Like, boxing is the one that I definitely can relate comedy to philosophically. Like, a lot of comedians, like it relates well to fight sports, because, like, with comedy and boxing, like, the only way to get good is just keep getting in there and keep trying and you're going to get punched in the face at something. So you got to do a lot of trial and error. You got to get tough. And by the time it's all said and done, it's an art to it. It's a science. It's something that you can do every time, you know?
Okay. But producing a show, is that the same, is boxing the same sport that you'd analogize to?
Kind of, because, like, when you look at the big boxers that, like, make it to the top and then they got to retire, like Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, like, they become promoters. So they start putting together their own cards and they start putting together their own shows, you know?
Okay. I think of it like producing a show like baseball. I could be persuaded to go basketball, because especially if you have 5 people, there's 5 positions. But for me, baseball, because I think there are 5 elements of producing a show. And also with a lineup, I kind of like to stack it like it's a lineup, you know? Like, I want my leadoff hitter and I want my second, my 2-hole, and I want the the third hitter and the cleanup hitter. I want all of that, and they need to flow with each other, so it makes sense.
I can definitely understand that. You got your leadoff hitter, you got the pitcher who's going to be the host, you probably want your slugger in the third slot. That makes sense. Yeah, I see it.
Well, either way, I hope you have a great game and show on the 22nd. I know it's going to be, because you definitely have a slugger in Saul, at least, and the rest of the comics that I don't have the fortune of knowing. I'm sure they're amazing. But if he's in your lineup, you're good.
He's a heavy hitter.
Yeah, he is. So producing, you like doing stand-up. Do you think there's who should be able to produce a show? That's something that I've seen going around a little bit lately on social media. Is some people say you shouldn't produce a show if you're not a comic. Some comics say there should be producers that aren't comics and that just produce. Would you have any thoughts on that?
Whoever can do the job best may the best person. Like, I've done shows with comics that were producers that were horrible. I've done shows that were great. I've done shows with people that just focus on producing that are usually good more because they're focused on the business side. And they like comedy, but they're not comedians, so they don't have the ego to where it's like, I got to be on this show, or I don't want to book anybody too much funnier than me, yada, yada, yada. So it works both ways, but I've seen it work more often with people that are just producers.
And that's interesting that you mentioned that, people who are, I don't want anyone better than me, or I don't mind someone better than me on the show. That we talked about, I don't know if it was last week or the week before with Chelsea. I think it was last week, because I had some Bay Area comics. I had Chelsea and Ivy Cordova and Jeanette Marin all at once. We did like a round table. And I actually take pride in that when I book a show, I'm usually the least talented performer. Which isn't to say that I'm not talented. I'm not saying that. But I try to book performers that are way better than me. I host my show, and it just sort of crescendos from me till the end. So
I kind of do something similar to that. Like, unless it's like a day where I'm trying to showcase myself and I'll make myself the headliner or whatever. But yeah, like, I get that idea for the simple fact that, like, I would rather host a show with a bunch of hitters than be like the headliner on a show that can fall off the rails at certain points. So if I know, like, I'm the weakest link, then it's going to be a very strong show.
Yeah, I think I like your outlook on that. So in addition to Zoom and VR comedy, you've been making a lot of content during the pandemic that's digital. Is that new for you, or were you doing that before the pandemic?
Yes and no. Like, I think I was just doing it just to goof around, and now I'm doing it because there's a million different avenues to do it. I don't even like TikTok, but I do it because I have to. And my girlfriend's nephews love it for some strange reason.
They like your TikTok, or they like TikTok?
Both. They like my TikTok, which is weird. Like, it feels kind of creepy that I got like 17-year-old fans, but like also cool. And like, I'm just making stuff just to make shit. Like, I'm literally throwing stuff at the wall. I don't know if it's gonna work or not.
What's the vibe of your TikTok? Because everyone's TikTok kind of has an aesthetic.
I've been trying to, like, again, mine probably looks like the work of a madman that's just throwing stuff at the wall. Like, if my TikTok had one picture to be 1,000 words, it'll probably be that meme of Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he's like, looks like he's looking at the conspiracy. Yeah, like, because I've got like videos of my stand-up, and I got videos of me playing video games, and I got videos of me doing stand-up in VR. I got videos of me responding to social, this new series I did is like, I call it Current Affairs, where like there'll be a trending topic, and I'll put that behind me, and I'll talk about it for 3 minutes. And I don't know if any of this is gonna work, but I'm literally just watching my friends, and like, I got 5 million views. I'm like, well, I'm gonna try to figure that out, and I haven't yet.
Do you get more feedback on any one of those types of posts?
Yes. That's one thing I do like about TikTok is that it makes my Instagram stronger.
Okay.
Whatever works on TikTok is like the filter, and then if it works there, I'll put it on Instagram, and then I was like I was getting things that were getting like 50 views and things. Now it's like 700, 800, 900. So I'm like, oh, this is actually starting to make sense. And I kind of like the platform because it has a lot of tools the apps make it a lot easier to edit things than I normally would have. Like this was always available in like Adobe Premiere, but like I wasn't gonna sit around and play around with it. They make it real simple.
Okay. I've been trying to figure out how to use TikTok, and I can't figure out how to use the sound, and that's pissed me off to the point where I'm like, I'm too old for this, and so I just haven't gotten into it.
I get a lot of the copyright things, which is weird because I thought that was the point of TikTok, was to like get around, like you use their sounds, and I was like, but this is a sound you have on here, and why are you dinging me for it?
That's weird.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like how the NFL is like, look at this really awful hit where somebody like launched themselves into the person. Also, we find them, $5 million.
Yeah. In fact, I had a video got pulled for violent content, and the whole point of me posting it was like the street fight where these two guys didn't hit each other. Like they're swinging full bore and couldn't land. And I was like, this is the least violent thing on my page. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of assault.
Yeah, but no violence.
No battery. Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
Zero battery.
Assault, no battery.
Right. I mean, I guess I don't know. That's the weird. You could say that's violent, but you'd also be a weirdo. So is producing digital content going to be something that you stick with post-pandemic?
Probably, because that just seems to be the way of the world now. Like, it's good and bad. Like, you used to have to get in line in Hollywood or wherever to get, or New York or wherever to get discovered, so to speak. And now, get enough followers and they'll come to you. So that's both good and bad. If you're like people like Tony Baker, that I know has been grinding away for years. And he starts doing some voiceovers for animals, and then now he's in commercials where he should be. He's been talented for a long time. But then you also got people that like, are literally like just kids making fun stuff at school, and now they're millionaires and have no idea what to do with it.
Yeah, I saw a viral, this was in the news yesterday, or it was on Now This, I think, a viral TikToker who would go viral for making fake ads actually got hired by ad companies to make real ads.
That's fun. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a, like you said, it's a way to get discovered without having to be in one of the traditional lines. So, did the pandemic affect how you produced digital content, beside just kind of throwing stuff at the wall?
I think it gave everybody the opportunity to focus on something else. Like, I think a lot of comics, like I think everybody went through their own like periods of grief, like the stages of like acceptance or whatever, where like there was at least a good 6 months where nobody can get on stage. Like the government just said no, unless you're in like Atlanta where they just didn't give a damn. But like for us, like there was a solid block of time where you weren't booked and you couldn't do anything, and for a lot of people they couldn't even work, so you just had to sit your ass down somewhere and figure something out. So as far as creating digital content, like I kind of like focused a little more. That's why I started like leaning towards the current affairs thing, because that seems to be something I care about. But I also looked into the video games thing. It's like, oh, I could be a streamer, and then I got no following. It's like, no, I really can't. So it's just trying different things, see what happens.
Did you find, this seems like a dumb question to ask, but do you find that you have more viewership with people stuck inside?
No. I got more viewership when everybody's outdoors again. Because when you're stuck inside, like, yeah, you're looking at your phone, but you're looking at it mindlessly. Versus, like, when someone shares something, like, if you see my video at 2:30 in the afternoon, that means you should have been doing something else, but you saw me. And that like works better than like, you're chilling at the house, scrolling through your phone at like 7:30 at night and you're barely paying attention. Like you look at it, you're not looking, like you're not liking, you're not interacting. But if you see it at 2:30 because like your coworker's like, dude, look at this, like that's actual interact. That's where you build a fan base.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you have more engaged viewers.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you success with the digital content. Is there anything that you liked about digital stand-up, be it Zoom or VR, beside getting the reps? Like, was there anything superior to live stand-up?
Just the idea of doing comedy in my house in my underwear instead of like, you know, like they say, you should imagine the whole audience in their underwear if you're nervous.
Mm-hmm.
No, like if I'm in my underwear, I have no nerves whatsoever. I had some of the best sets of my life, and SETS, just in case that came off weird. I had some of the best comedy sets because I was so relaxed. Because I was like whether like either this works and great, I got something I can bring to the actual stage, or it doesn't work and you just saw an avatar bomb. So like I felt like there was zero. It was a zero. I had nothing to lose, you know.
I did hear a different word than sets.
That's why I made sure I said it. Like I was like, did I say that right? I said yeah.
I'm glad you clarified. I was gonna say, I mean, you have to get down to your underwear to a certain degree for that as well. But okay, so it's more freeing maybe, because you're not worried about losing anything. It's okay. That makes a lot of sense. That's like doing yoga on water, where if you fall, you're not gonna hurt yourself. You're just gonna fall in the water.
Yeah. Also, like, no matter how varied the crowd is, like, you know, everybody is at least nerdy enough to have everybody is at least sharing this experience where they have a computer on their face. So no matter how much I might feel like, oh, this is weird, it's just as weird for them to be sitting at home in their couch with this on their face. So, you know, we're all in the matrix together.
Right on. What do you like about live stand-up comedy?
There's nothing like it. Like it's the most challenging form of entertainment, I think. Because like if you go see a band, no matter how talented they are, and I'll never try to compare myself to any kind of musician because that's all kinds of different skills, but they have the instrument. They have the background dancers, or the background singers, or the whole band together. You know, they're not up there alone. You know, if you're in a play, you have other actors. If you're in a boxing match or something, you at least have your opponent. When you're when you're on stage, it's just you. It's just you and the microphone, and you gotta make in your intellect and your charisma, and you're gonna make this audience crack up for 15, 20, 30, an hour. You know, and that's incredible. Like we're a one-person movie.
If we're doing it right.
Yes. Otherwise, it is a one-person horrible film. And I'm not talking horror film. I'm talking a horrible film, like
right.
The Room.
Like which one?
The Room.
Oh,
and that one's good. That one's bad. I feel like that one was bad on purpose, but you know what I mean. Like a bad movie.
I mean, there are some stand-ups. I know a lot of stand-up comics that like to watch a bomb. So
yeah. Oh well. I was just talking about this with Cody Woods. Like we both decided we were lifers years ago in this, and like we take pride, we take glee in the cynicism of this whole thing. So like, there's nothing more entertaining to a room full of comedians than watching someone bomb, and if they're good, it's even better. Like Sammy Obeid is the man, but I seen Sammy eat a dick on stage one time, and the only people laughing was the whole back row, which was all comics, because we all knew it was like, oh, he just doesn't have it tonight. and we're laughing at the awkwardness,
right?
And it's not because he's a bad comic at all. Sammy's the man. Sammy's got Netflix. Sammy's going places. Sammy's gonna have his own special. But like that particular night is like, and it could be me, it could be Kabir, it could be Cody, it could be any one of us, but we like, when we're dying up there, we know we're entertaining the rest of them. Like the audience may not like it, but the comics are having a ball.
Right. So, I mean, if anyone's watching and is not familiar with stand-up comedy, the comics stand in the back of the room. Sometimes they sit, but often they just stand. Some places there's stools and they still stand. Some places it's just a back wall. And
Usually by the bar.
Right, and we can't go to shows like normal people. We can't sit at the table. Once you're a comedian, you kind of lose that ability because you're on your phone, you're talking to people. So you stand back there so you're not distracting. And if you're ever at a show as an audience member and only the back of the room is laughing, it's just comics, and they're laughing because something's awkward. Because they've probably seen whoever's on stage. They probably could do their set for them at that point.
Yes.
Unless it's somebody really great, like a Dave Chappelle or a Bill Burr, and then we're just watching with adoration. But if it's someone local, mid-level, even someone that's touring nationally, probably we're watching because that's our friend and we know them and we know their set and we just want to see how they do. And so when it's not hitting, I think we're in just as much awe, but then it becomes really great for us because we're not suffering. So,
yes.
But you're watching your friend suffer.
You had to have had bombed for this to feel to get this feeling. If it's like I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what else it is. Like only comics know what it feels like to bomb. So to watch another one of your contemporaries bomb, it's like, hey, you broke your cherry. Come on down. Let's have a drink. Yeah, all right, you fucking kid.
I'll say anyone that performs knows what a bomb is. I think we have a word for it as comics, but certainly when I do a drag show sometimes, like I just and it's better than a comedy bomb, right? Because nothing is as worse as a comedy bomb.
How do you bomb a drag show? I'm so curious.
So you just pick the wrong song. Your song isn't connecting with the audience. And one that's kind of sticking out in my mind was from a couple years ago. I did a ballad at a charity show, and it was a really slow cover of slow and dramatic cover of Baby One More Time. So I wanted to I thought it could be artsy or funny. And the crowd was say it again.
I'm gonna be honest, that kind of sounds sad.
Yeah, and the crowd was just they were looking at me like, okay, we get it. When does the up tempo when does the mix happen? And in my head and with my eyes, I was like, there's no mix. This is it. Just enjoy this. This is all there is. But the reason it's better than comedy is because you're like, okay, this song, and then you start spitting the numbers really fast in your head. You're like, I have been performing for 1 minute and 27 seconds. This song is 3 minutes and 32 seconds. That means I have 2 minutes and 5 seconds left. All I have to do is, baby, how was I supposed to know?
Oh.
Okay, cool. Now we're at 1:40. And you're just waiting for it to end. But with comedy, you could walk off, but at your level, even my level, I would say I'm a high-level producer. I don't get booked a lot, so I can't in good conscience say I'm higher than an open micer. I think I should be booked a lot. I think I should be hosting, definitely doing some guest spots. But delusional people think they should get booked a lot, so maybe I'm just delusional. But you don't want to walk off stage, You're up there for, let's say it's a guest spot. Let's say you have a 7-minute guest spot. You just got that spot. You're not going to walk away after 30 seconds. So you're just going to keep, this is where boxing, I would agree with boxing. You're just going to keep slugging and it's going to hurt and you're losing. And you're just hoping for a technical knockout at that point. Just please don't knock me out. Just let me get to the end of this.
Oh man.
Would you say that's a pretty good assessment?
That's fairly accurate. That's definitely, and you're just swinging away, and you're like, when is that bell gonna ring?
Yeah, and I think sports is a great one because I certainly played a lot of sports, and if you're in the middle of a basket, if your shot's not falling, and there's nothing you can do that day. You're just passing now. You're just passing, and people are starting to sag off you. They're giving you 10 feet of space, daring you to shoot, and you're like, yeah, no, thank you.
Oh, that is the perfect analogy.
Yeah,
it's like the Clippers. It's like there's nights when you're just out there and and the audience is giving you 20 feet. It's like, go ahead and shoot, man. We know you ain't making it. Like you're 0 for 18. Keep keep shooting, bro. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. So and like I don't know, last week at brunch, so I have brunch every Sunday, and which is a lot of creative output to come up with 2 numbers like every Sunday. It's just I liken it to writing a new 10 minutes every week. I am trying to come up with 10 minutes worth of material to do, and yeah, I don't have to come up with original jokes, but I have to pick a song, pick a look, pick a concept, marry it all in a number, and then hope that the crowd loves it. And yeah, drag crowds generally come to enjoy the drag show, and there's not usually, like at comedy shows, there's, I don't know, probably 75% of the time there's that one person who's like, I will not laugh, you cannot make me laugh, and you're like, then why the fuck are you here? Like I don't know if you've had that person a lot, but I did a number last week, and the song was only 2 minutes, and that's not a great length for a drag number. Like, you want somewhere between 3 and 4.5, 5 if you're really sure of what you got, because audiences start to tune out after 5. So if you're gonna go over 5, you got to be on point. So my song was 2 minutes, and it was a great song. It was a bop. That's one of my specialties at brunch, is doing sort of these unknown songs that are bops, and people are going to be like, oh my God, what is that? I'm downloading it. Or I just Shazammed it. Like, thank you for performing to that song. It was amazing. So I put this like theatrical narration ahead of it to explain my concept of this story that I was going to tell during this number, and it was 3 minutes, and that was way too long for a drunk drag crowd. They were like, I could see them after 45 seconds being like, oh, is this all it is this spoken word? And you can't do anything. You can't like be like, hey DJ, just go ahead and skip to the music. So you're stuck just doing it. So in that way, it's a little bit like, bombing that guest spot.
Yeah, I think me and Cody call that pulling the ripcord. It's like when you decide to just bail early on your set. When you're like, it's usually like, it's fine at open mics, but you can't do it at a club.
No.
Like at an open mic, you're up there for like, you say you got 5 minutes and you're 3 minutes in and it's just not working. You're like, all right, let me just get my time back on. Just pull, like, all right, see, like, I'm done with this shit.
Yeah.
Good luck with that burning building.
Yeah, well, and then at that point, you're just selfishly hoping that everyone else has a bad set too.
Exactly.
You're like, no, I want this to be the crowd. I hope it's the crowd's fault.
I had plenty of sets where I wanted to pull the ripcord at 5, and it's like, you've got 31 minutes.
So pulling the ripcord, you probably know Miles Weber.
Yeah.
He has a phrase. He calls it throwing the grenade, which is what you would do before pulling the ripcord, which is he has jokes that he doesn't even like, but he knows they work. They're hacky, they're cheesy, whatever, however he feels about them. I don't want to speak for him, so let me not say Miles has hacky jokes, lest that be a clip that gets clipped from my show. Miles has just stated he doesn't necessarily like the jokes that are his grenade, but he knows they work. So he's just going to, if nothing else is working, he's going to toss that out. Like, this joke has 100% hit rate. Is it the crowd or is it me? Yeah. So I think it's fascinating to me that we have these sort of extreme sport and or war like phrases for stand up, because it very much does feel like a fight at times.
Very much so. It's like, yeah, it's a fight between you and the audience, and like they're fighting you for entertainment sometimes. Like, tough crowds feel like it's adversarial, like he has the term tossing a grenade. Like, my grenades would be like jokes that like I'm punishing the audience with, where it's like, you don't like I don't care if you like these jokes make me laugh and they're probably like very inappropriate, so like, here you go, enjoy.
Okay, all right. I know a comic that I love him. Do you know Robert Emoto?
Yes. No, Robert.
Have you ever seen him bomb?
No, but I've heard stories.
It's beautiful. It's the best thing because he is good, right? And that's one of the reasons it's so great to watch. And when he bombs, he gets mad. And he's not like belligerent with the audience, but he's just mad. And like it's one of my favorite bombs to watch, also because he's one of my favorite comics. So I know he's good. I just you got to catch that sometime because it's good. It's a thing of beauty.
That's another thing about bombing though. It's only entertaining if you know the comic is good. The audience doesn't know these guys most likely. But we've been at this long enough to where we're colleagues now. So like if Cody's having a rough night or my buddy G King's having an off night, which rarely ever happens. That's part of being a comic.
Right.
Being a professional is that it rarely happens, which is why it's like, oh, this is like that's part of the appeal. I'm witnessing something that hardly ever happens. But if you suck, then it's not special because you do this all the time and you're in the way, you know?
Yes, in the way. I say that a lot. Like, if you're not, get out of the way. Just get out of the way. Like, for me, it's the people that get into drag and stand-up that don't have that innate, natural, I need to perform, and not in a psychological, psychopathic way. No, almost psychopathic. Almost. Where, like, I'm going to do this if I'm on stage or not. Like, I'm going to start riffing at the bank in the bank line. I'm going to riff to the checker at the grocery store. And not, like, in a cheesy, like, oh, like, sale on the cookies. Is it the cook or the ease? Which one is off? Like, nothing cheesy like that. But just, like, I have to perform. And I'm lucky enough that I get to do it and sometimes get paid for it. But the people who just got in it because they wanted to be famous or because they wanted the money, get out of the way.
Yeah. Okay.
I wonder, I don't know who watches my show. I wonder how people feel about me saying that. Maybe someone thinks I'm in their way. So I don't know. I lost track. Did you answer what you like about stand-up comedy?
Oh, I like the energy. I like the fact that I think I mentioned we're a one-person movie. If it's done well, and I think that's how we got on the tangent.
Yes,
and that's another thing. I love the camaraderie of it. I love having friends that it's entertaining to watch them bomb. I love having friends that I can go see that are going to kill, that are going to have a great show. I love the inside track to this thing of ours. Like, it's kind of an unwritten rule just about anywhere you go that you performed at. You don't really have to pay to be there. Like, you support the club, you tip and whatnot, but like, you don't really, like, you can go to any show, you know? So I've seen a lot of shows that weren't like, that a lot of the public wouldn't get access to.
Right.
And that part's really cool.
That is a really cool part of it, is getting access to the shows and sometimes getting to meet people and pick their brain a little bit. What do you hate about stand-up comedy?
The pay. without a shadow of a doubt, the pay. Like, you get paid like an artist. And the thing about being an artist is you have to love it because it's going to take a long time, even if it is what you're destined to do, before anybody pays you a living wage to do it. And so you have to love it because you're not gonna to be a boxer, you gotta like fighting. Otherwise, there's a lot easier ways to get paid. There's probably a lot safer ways to get paid. Still
right.
Sticking with the same analogy here with comedy. There's a lot safer ways to make money.
I would say it takes clearly boxing, and not to belittle the physical effects on the brain that boxing gives boxers, but there is an emotional and mental toll that stand-up comedy takes on stand-up comics as you grind your way through. So you might not end up with a concussion and no memory, but it's a depressing road, I think.
I think you can get CTE in comedy too. Comedy traumatic encephalopathy.
Okay. You know what? I'm not going to disagree with that. Comedy traumatic encephalopathy. I can't say the last word, but yeah.
I'm sure I said it wrong too.
Probably because we're both suffering from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could probably do this if we didn't have so many comedy
football
concussions.
Players and comedians cannot say that last word at all.
Oh my god, I hope we don't get canceled. What are you? What's the most interesting venue that you've performed in?
Oh, can you redefine the question? Because interesting can mean so many different things.
Well, I'll let you define it.
Okay. My favorite venue I've ever performed in is either Tommy T's or the San Jose Improv when it's packed, because there's something about the balcony being full that makes you feel like you made it.
Yeah, I want to produce a show there. I don't know who to contact yet, but I'm like, okay, San Jose is a market that's not San Francisco. Let's go.
Yeah. The most interesting venue I've ever performed at. Oh God, I performed in jail. I performed at my best friend's wedding. I performed at my mother's retirement party. Like, you name the pressure situation. And I was probably under the influence for all those different things. Well, at least the first one I was under the influence to end up in jail.
I think the one that piques my interest is not jail or your mother's retirement party. It's your best friend's wedding. Was this during, were you the best man, I'm assuming?
No, I was one of the groomsmen, and I was shit-faced like everybody at the wedding.
Well, hold on, time out. Did he have a brother?
Huh?
Did he have a brother?
Yes, 2 brothers.
And they were the best men?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, why were you not your best friend's best man?
That's fair. Like,
we need to get him on the show and talk about this.
Yeah, I'm family, but I'm not immediate blood family. Like,
I've
known him since college. They known him since birth. That, like, I wasn't mad at that.
Okay, all right. I mean, I'll be mad for you, but
yeah. It was my buddy Mike. He had this huge wedding out on his in-laws' pistachio farm. He's married up, and it was really cool because he's a big basketball head. We used to play NBA 2K all the time, and like for the wedding, for all the groomsmen, we all got to wear like a basketball cap of our favorite team.
okay.
So it's kind of like a draft day type of deal. And so I'm up there. I'm doing of course I had to perform. That was the reason I got to be at the wedding. And I was like, okay. So Lindsay said she wants me to perform this wedding, but she doesn't want me to get political. She doesn't want me to be vulgar, and she doesn't want me to get too personal about stories between the bride and groom. So needless to say, I'm gonna keep this short. And then I did all 3 of those.
Did you get the light?
Nah, I only did 5. I did a high 5. I knew exactly what I was gonna do, and I had to stop because I started to cry.
Okay. And just in case anyone's watching, because again, I don't know my viewership. Sometimes they tell me, and sometimes there are comedians that watch. Sometimes there are comedy people that watch. But getting the light means when you're coming up towards the end of your set, usually a minute, 2 minutes. If it's a longer set, it could be 5. Somebody in the back of the room will give you a light with their flashlight, and that means like, wrap it up. Your time's coming to an end. And when I asked you just now, Corey, if you got the light, really you knew what I was asking was, did you get like a hook like at the Apollo where they like, okay, gotta get off bro, now. Yeah, you didn't get a hook.
Other things to do. No, I didn't. That was gonna be my gift to him because I knew exactly how long I was gonna do, and I knew about how long I could go before that all the champagne I had drank turned me into a pool of emotions.
And you said that was your gift to them?
Kind of, like, because it was like I got to do a speech, so to speak. Like they're like, she's really shy, so like the fact that she even knew a comedian was like, oh yeah, of course.
Well, I mean, there is a value to what we do as performers, and so really that's a pretty good deal.
Well, here's the other thing though. I needed to break the ice so everybody knew it was okay to drink with each other, because this was a very, very mixed wedding. She was she's from the farm. Her family is very conservative, very flags everywhere. You know what I mean? Oh. And my buddy is Black and Dominican from Brooklyn, so his family was all like, from Jamaica, Queens, and so Like it was just not like the jokes that I did kind of just pointed out the differences and said, okay, you can all dance now.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, when you said mixed wedding, I didn't know where we were going. I was like, yes, well, you know, that's good.
They served Indian food to make sure everyone was
Loving Day happened, so like mixed weddings are great, you know, but like
oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Country flags on trucks and you know, Dominicans from Queens, that is a mixed wedding.
Very.
That is the most high pressure situation out of the ones you mentioned. I knew I was right. What's that? Okay, so that was your answer to the most interesting venue. The next question I was going to ask was, what's the most interesting show or experience stand-up has given you? Would you say that that was it, or is there something more interesting experience-wise that stand-up has given you?
Best one so far is I got to perform for the troops. It wasn't necessarily the USO, but it was something like the USO.
Okay.
And we went, and that was basically my world tour. Like I got to go to Korea, Guam, Japan, Abu Dhabi, and those are some long ass flights. But it was cool to see all those places. Japan was amazing. The base in Abu Dhabi, like they showed me all the cool military stuff. We got to like see the drones. We got to taxi in some planes on like as they landed. They put me in a big Hurt Locker bomb suit. I have to walk around in it. Oh, I got a picture of that. So it was just really, it was a once in a lifetime experience, and I know that it's validated because I have these stickers that I put up everywhere, except for I don't have one handy. I usually have them on my phone and stuff. But I do probably still have them. And, yep, there you go. And my buddy found this sticker in the green room at the base in Abu Dhabi. So I have a friend of mine that's like he's a reggae musician. We like lost touch after high school, and we went in completely different directions. And it was just weird for him to like reach out to me on Facebook and be like, "Bro, I seen your sticker." And I'm like, "God, man, this is a small world."
That's really cool.
Yeah,
well,
we both ended up in Abu Dhabi.
and it wasn't USO?
Nah, it was I think it was Pacific Entertainment or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, it was the best.
I just want to call it US No.
That's a good one too. And Guam was really cool too, but like that is a tiny island. Like, that is like you can fit Guam is about the size of my neighborhood in LA.
Really?
Yeah.
How many people are in Guam?
Probably about 100,000, but it's 30 square miles.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like we missed the runway twice. It's really small.
Oh, okay. I mean, maybe your pilot was bombing.
Yeah.
Missed the runway twice.
Bomb us.
Yeah. You're also an actor.
Yes.
Do you find that being a stand-up comedian is helpful for acting?
Yes and no. Stand-up comedy, like they work hand in hand. I'm gonna go back to the fight sports analogy. It's like when I moved to LA, like I realized very quickly that being a stand-up comic is like being a wrestler going into MMA. Like you have something that's very good, but you're gonna have to split that into a bunch of other stuff. You have any chance of winning out of it. You better learn to do voiceover. You better learn to do commercials. You better learn to do acting, drama, or something. And I used to do drama in high school and college, and I'm a great actor, but I'm a terrible auditioner. And I found that out the very hard way out here, and that's when I decided, okay, maybe I do need acting classes. And so it got me to humble myself. It got me to focus on different things that I was doing, like little bad habits, using my hands too much, not opening my eyes, like a bunch of different things that are subconscious that you wouldn't notice. So like acting is harder than comedy, but it's not as hard because it's different. You know what I mean?
I do, and I'm making notes because I do this a lot with my guests. There's things that I want to respond with that might be interesting to you or me, but I think it'd be too inside baseball for people. But why do you think acting is harder than comedy?
Because I haven't been doing acting for 20 straight years.
Ah, okay.
Like comedy, I'm way more familiar with.
Got it.
Acting is something like you're using other people's words, and you have to find the interpretation for it. You have to find the emotion behind it. You have to find like what it means to you and how you're gonna make this work. Like they just wrote this template, and you gotta make a picture out of it. You know?
Okay. And at some point, I'll have to like link back up with you and share these side notes. But that's very interesting. I wonder if at what point you'll be as comfortable with acting if you never will, because you have a 20-year head start with stand-up.
Could be.
Does your resume say that you do stand-up? Your acting resume?
Yes. Because there's no point to not put them on.
Right, right. No, you put everything in an acting resume.
Yeah.
I fished once in 4th grade. Do you ever get asked to do stand-up during an audition because your resume says it?
No. In fact, the last time I got that, like I got booked for this thing because I was a stand-up, and then I thought they wanted me to do acting, so I prepared a monologue, and then I started doing the monologue, and they were like, "Oh, thank you." And I was like, "I thought you were stand-up," and then I was like, "Okay, well, let me do stand-up." So I did stand-up, made them laugh, but it was too late. I already used my time on the acting.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay. This is kind of a loaded question, but I know what I'm asking, and I know who I'm asking. A common knock on actors is they're kind of stupid, and a common knock on stand-up comedians is they're kind of ugly but smart. Now you do both, so does that make you like Blade, like all of the strengths, none of the weaknesses?
I don't know. I think that would probably make me more like. That's a good combo. Like I like that idea of Blade, but like, I'm a good-looking fat guy, so that's probably why I haven't made it now. It's like, close. Figure one of those out.
So would you say as an actor you're like a good-looking fat guy, like you're like a 7 or an 8?
I don't rate myself. I let Milan do that for me. Let my girlfriend do that.
Okay, I'd be interested. I'd be interested to hear what she think. Like, are you like a stand-up like 9 and like an acting like 7? Like, I'm just curious.
If I was a stand-up 9, I'd be an acting 4.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, comics can be kind of ugly, but smarter than actors most of the time.
Yeah, but
not always.
Like I want to disagree, but like I don't really know that many smart actors, so fair. Because comics, like you have to be clever at the very least. Like that's the bare minimum to being a comedian.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time with open micers, so I don't know if I'd.
Well, that's the thing, to be a comedian. There's
right.
a difference between an open micer and a comedian.
Until
they figure out the clever part, they're always going to be open micer.
I long to be around clever comedians exclusively, and just watch them bomb. Weird transition. I don't have one, but you're very blunt about your social media thoughts, and I really like that. Does it help or hurt you as a stand-up comedian to be so bold and blunt with your viewpoints?
It helps me as a comedian, probably hurts me with my friends and family, but it helps me because if I take a definite stance on something, then that, how can I put this? Like if I take a definite stance on something, I don't have to question myself. So that way I know like, okay, this is where I'm at. These are my responses and here's where I go. But I'm not, the reason that I got there is because I'm a reasonable person and I like logical arguments. And no matter how angry I get with whatever point you're trying to make, depending on whether or not you're trying to insult my intelligence, if you say something that makes sense, I'm going to be like, oh shit, you got a point. You know? So, like, I'm blunt and I'm bold with what I'm saying, but that doesn't mean you can't engage in a discourse. Does that make sense?
That does. That does. I think I asked if it helps or hurts as a stand-up comedian is because I've seen other stand-up comics say, don't be dramatic on your Facebook and your social media. Don't be too verbose one way or the other about, social topics. because bookers will look and they'll see that and they'll be like, you know what, if this person's drama, I don't want to book them. And I'm not saying you're drama, but certainly you've given thought to what you post could affect whether or not you get booked, right?
I've thought about that, and I've also realized through the years that a lot of the people that used to book me were more conservative, and that stopped, and that doesn't bother me so much. Like, if my politics bother you to where you don't want to do business with me, then we probably shouldn't have been doing it.
Okay, so you're not Michael Jordan with
yeah,
Republicans wear sneakers.
I wish I actually no, I don't wish I could be that fake. Like I realized
you
that
don't. No, yeah, reading your Facebook, you do not wish you could be that fake.
No, I don't. Like, and some people love working like that. Like I don't want to do that. Like I can definitely put my personal business aside to handle business. But if that is something that's going to bother you, then you don't have to do business.
Why do you think that a lot of conservatives used to book you?
Scary thing that comes to mind is because I was the safe black guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like, oh, this guy's just gonna say things in a way that's gonna make white people like laugh about it instead of like just being all in your face about it. But I don't know if I want to be that guy.
Do you think that? And I asked knowing the answer. I mean, not knowing you. I know how bookings work, and why do you think that they thought that you were the safe, friendly black guy? Do you think it was your voice? Do you think it was how you looked? Do you think you're like, what do you think it was?
At the time, it was probably my voice and how I looked, because this is new. This is the last 3 years. But when I was bald, I looked very presentable. I looked very job application. I looked very like, oh, this guy just wants to work in corporate America. And like, yeah, and my voice too. My mother always made sure that I spoke English and that I didn't like have any like she didn't want me having any kind of slang, because I think my mother even named me Corey just so it was ambiguous enough to give me a job one day. But like, the older I get, the more I don't want to have to pretend to be somebody I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as, sorry, I'm probably losing the question. Remind me what the question was again.
I'm interested to get your viewpoint as to why conservatives thought maybe you were the safe, friendly black comic to book.
Yeah, it's because I was like, I'm well spoken, I'm well read. I don't really have a regional dialect unless I really leave California. And so and a lot of my jokes are just topical and observational. But it's a funny thing. Like I love this club out in El Paso, and I haven't been there since Trump got elected. So go figure. Maybe that's why I haven't been back. But like, if that's the case, I'm fine. Like I'll keep doing. Like I'll find other places. I'll book other shows. I'll make more of a name for myself to where there comes a point where it doesn't matter. Like nobody's telling Dave Chappelle to calm down with the social media or the social
commentary.
Yeah, with the social commentary. Nobody's telling Chris Rock, hey, that's not politically correct.
Mm-hmm. Is it? How do you? And I certainly do not mean to like ask any charged questions. How do you feel about comics that kind of embrace that? Like, oh, you're the friendly black guy, or you're the friendly woman, or you're the friendly white guy, like, or you're the country. Like, if they embrace kind of, I don't want to say negative stereotype, but is that get booked however you can? Not your cup of tea, but is it like get booked however you can, or is it like problematic?
It could be all of the above, depending on who you are. Like, if you're as long as you're not, as long as at the end of the day you can look yourself in the mirror, that's all you got to worry about. Um, and as long as you're not setting anybody back, then I don't care. But as far as like putting on to be somebody else, that has a shelf life. You know, like I mean, people can play a character for decades, but they have to be okay with the fact that like I'm playing the character. But if you're gonna sell your soul to make it, eventually that adds up. Like that catches up to you. Like eventually that debt gets called upon. And you know, you see people crack. And I think those are the ones that sold their soul and couldn't get it back. Or they got into it trying to be themselves and or they got into it as themselves and now they're being asked to sell their soul. And they're not willing to. So be yourself. Because eventually that's all you're gonna have left.
That's wise. That's very wise. I didn't mean to go with such a serious turn. I just got curious about that.
I'll answer anything. I'm an open book.
Oh, for sure, for sure. That's actually all of my proper questions. I do have rapid fire questions if you have time.
Sure.
Okay. Corey Robinson, here we go with rapid fire questions. If you're performing tonight, or if I don't know if you are, should you perform tonight, what is your walk-up song going to be?
The Devil is a Lie by by Rick Ross.
What's your favorite recurring show to perform in?
Say it again.
Your favorite recurring show to perform in?
Oh, the Punchline is San Francisco.
The Showcase?
Yeah.
I love that club. What's the funniest, or I'm sorry, what's your favorite venue to perform in? You already said San Jose, Improv, and did you say Punchline? No, you said Tommy T's.
Yeah, because when that place got the top row packed out, there's no feeling like it.
Tommy T's in Pleasanton?
Yes.
What about Cobb's?
I like Cobb's too. Cobb's definitely has that energy. It's got that big wide vibe, but like I've had better shows at the Punchline.
They're not doing outside producers anymore at Punchline right now, and so I've produced 2 shows there, and I love it. And now they're like, okay, now you get Cobb's, and I'm like, it seats 400 something people. Like, are we sure we want to? That's
a tall ask.
That's cavernous. Like, if I get 120 people at Punchline San Francisco, like sold out. If I get 120 people at Cobb's, like, oh.
Yeah, that's the front row.
Okay. Right on. But it has a balcony. So I'll try to get people up there. What's the funniest thing an audience member has ever said to you after a show?
Oh, oof. Do you want my girlfriend's phone number?
What?
Yeah, like it was some. I was doing some show at Tommy T's, and I think we had to do like some like birthday thing, and like they made all these. Like it was back when Ed Tracy was hosting, and I was filling in for him. Shout out to Ed. And he'd do this thing where he make like everybody do some weird dance for the birthday, and this chick had like fat as ass, and I was joking around. I was like, all right, yeah, see me after the show. And then, so like after the show, she like slips me her friend's number in my pocket. I'm like, oh, okay, that's awesome.
Okay. On that note, next question. What is your favorite sex position?
Standing up in public.
Right on. What's your favorite thing about the existence of brunch?
That it gives my girlfriend some place to be while I watch the game.
You haven't, but you should. Okay, come to Sacramento. Come to Drag Brunch.
I think DJ Singh invited me to that one time. I think not drag brunch, but like brunch is like a huge thing in Sac. So like we had like bottomless mimosa.
Oh, it's a huge thing. And our drag brunch is simply amazing. So, you know, you'll have to come and experience it. Do you cook or bake?
Both.
Oh, which do you prefer?
Prefer cooking, but I actually do a bit about how me and my girlfriend baked edibles for the pandemic, kind of like as our sourdough project, and that's fine as long as you don't use your edibles to cure the munchies.
Yeah, right. because you'll just it's a cycle at that point, right?
Yeah, the edible infinity cycle. You eat a brownie, you get high, you get the munchies. You eat a brownie, you get high, you get the munchies, and it's Thursday.
In October, and it was January.
Tell me about it.
DC or Marvel?
Marvel movies, DC animation.
You know what? That's a very astute stance. Who's your favorite? Oh, go ahead.
I was watching. I have to realize I'm a little bit sexist because I've looked past DC's Harley Quinn for weeks, and I just picked it up the other day, and I love it. It's hilarious. The funniest sitcom comedy. It's the funniest sitcom cartoon there is.
Do you have a favorite character between the two companies?
In movies, Iron Man. In cartoons, Spider-Man. Or
Okay.
actually, no, Batman. Always Batman.
Oh, he's Batman. Okay. He's very grumpy.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes him so cool. He's so grumpy because he knows he could kick the shit out of anybody. With great power comes great responsibility.
That's Spider-Man. I don't think he could beat up
I know,
Spider-Man.
but they all kind of cross. You see why I have this thing?
Hold on, let me look. I'm staring at a webcam. Let me pull up the feed. What am I looking at?
No, I'm saying Spider-Man. I was saying Spider-Man and Batman. They kind of.
They do. There's actually a cartoon. I saw it like way in the early days of like memes. And it was Batman and Iron Man like throwing money at each other. And Spider-Man was like ducked down, scooping it up.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Batman, Spider-Man, and Iron Man all kind of like coexist in my head with they have all. I spend way too much time thinking about superheroes. Sorry.
I don't know why you're apologizing. This show, that's one thing we love to talk about on this show. I've tried to start a whole separate podcast just about superheroes. What do you spend a lot of time thinking about?
How Batman somehow has no powers, but that's his greatest power.
Well, I can answer that. That's because it's DC, and so they all have powers, and he's the one avatar for the audience because he's powerless. It's full of gods trying to be men, and he's just a man trying to be a man, and no powers, and so he has self-trained abilities like jujitsu, and like he's a detective, and like he doesn't kill, he has a code. I don't like Batman, as you can see. The movies were good when there were no other superhero movies, the Nolan Batman movies, but I don't think he'd fare well if he was in the Marvel universe. That's all.
I feel you, but if Batman was in the Marvel universe, he'd be Iron
Man. No, because Iron Man's fun.
Like that's the thing though. Like yeah, like he would be fighting Iron Man.
He would, yeah. I mean, he'd be in that zone where he'd be like, I guess he would. I'm trying to think of a comp, for Batman in the Marvel Cinematic. There's not, because the Marvel Batman is Moon Knight, and he has powers. So
yeah, Batman's powers are that he's got PTSD. He's trained to fight anyone. He's super smart, and he's rich enough to just be prepared.
Remember I was telling you about my last week's interview with a comic who smokes a lot?
Mm-hmm.
I asked him this question, Marvel or DC, and he's neither. He doesn't really know either, which is surprising to me.
How is that possible?
I agree with you. But then he said something like, blah, 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 Spider-Man's, parents get killed in front of him, and I was like, no. No.
I just thought of a really interesting philosophical thing.
What's that?
Batman is Wile E. Coyote if the Acme products were good.
Oh, yes, and the Roadrunner's kind of Joker.
Yeah, but the Roadrunner's like it's flipped. Instead of Wile E. Coyote being the bad guy, he's the good guy, and all his gadgets work great. But the Joker is just this high-speed asshole, causing all this trouble all over the desert.
I mean, Wile E. Coyote is a sympathetic bad guy, so I'm sure I've seen episodes, when I was much younger and watched more Looney Tunes, where he was painted as the good guy. But yeah, that's a good. Okay, I like your take on that. Batman is Wile E. Coyote with good Acme products.
He's
Maybe not
never
Acme. Maybe
unprepared,
just
like,
maybe a different brand. Maybe the brand is the problem.
yeah. I think Batman's biggest power is plot armor because no matter what, he always like he goes up against Superman, Darkseid. Hell, he's fought the entire Justice League and won because he's somehow prepared for everything and he doesn't care if he dies.
It's because it's not realistic like Marvel Comics.
Exactly, it's plot armor.
Yeah.
He has the ability. Like I think he has enough money to write the comic book himself.
Right. He's actually just grumpy Deadpool.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. There you go.
If we're at a show and the show's over and someone's buying us shots, what are we shooting?
Whiskey.
What kind?
Either Jack or Bullet.
Okay, I'm in. If someone's buying us drinks, what are we drinking?
I usually stay with whiskey. I can be persuaded tequila, but I'm never drinking vodka again.
Really?
Yeah.
That's, excuse my generalization. And I say it at looking like me. That's a very white girl thing to say.
Yeah, college.
Okay. Okay.
Can't even smell the shit without having to. Yep, gotta go.
But tequila's okay.
Cuervo, Patron, of course. Usually, like, I don't really mind if it's bad. I'll know, like, when I'm like, ooh, I don't even want to shoot that. But like, tequila's usually okay. Like, it's always gonna give you that feeling. But
nope.
Yeah.
Okay. Important question. Probably the most important one. Toilet paper, over or under?
Over.
Yes. Thank you.
You under people are weird. It just rips apart. Why? Come on.
Oh, Corey, no. You're my 64th or 5th show. I have probably 25% of people, maybe less, maybe 10%, that I've asked this question to, apathetic to direction of toilet paper.
Here's something. Here's how serious it is. I'm an over on the roll person. My girlfriend's an under on the roll person. We had to compromise and just took the damn thing off the roll. We just pick it up and we're both uncomfortable.
So you're just like a side roll.
Yeah, like now we just have we pick the roll up and like it got serious.
That is, yeah. I mean,
the microaggressions were too much, so we just decided to compromise right then and there.
Where do you want to live? Whose parents can move in with us? Public or private school for our child? And which way does the toilet paper go in this house?
It's important. These
It's
things
very
you
important.
know what I mean.
Very important. Do you have a favorite Los Angeles Laker?
Of all time or just right now?
Both.
Of all time, it was probably Kobe. May he rest in peace. Shaq was my favorite player of all time. But my favorite Laker now is gotta be Caruso, who's probably on his way out.
I don't even know him.
There you go. Like he's kind of like the next generation of Kurt Rambis, one of those white guys on the bench that everybody cheers for. Is like, yay, he's in the game. We must be up by 30.
Scalabrini.
Yes.
Exactly. Kurt Rambis was actually a contributing functional starter at times.
No, he was not a starter. Caruso is like a very functional 7th or 8th guy off the bench. We need him in his games.
Did Rambis not start at times?
No. Kurt Rambis was like the 7th or 8th guy. He was same position. Came off the bench and spark plug.
Okay. I feel like I'm ashamed of myself for not knowing that.
Nah, it's okay. I'm a Laker fan. Trust me. This is one of those little nuances. You wouldn't think he would be a starter.
No, I didn't think he was always a starter, but I thought maybe he started, 44 games a year.
Every now and again. Well, it depends on who gets injured. You know, I think James Worthy got injured one year and he had to take a few starts. A few months starting. I
do not like Kurt Rambis. I know that much. I'm pulling up Basketball Reference so I can see how many games he started because I'm ashamed of myself. Let me go to the next question. Who is your favorite comedian?
Dave Chappelle.
It's a great choice.
I would have said Richard Pryor. I used to say Chris Rock. That was the dude I wanted to be like the most when I first started writing, because I just liked the way a lot of his stuff could loop back around and call back. But Dave has just been a savant between the sketch show and every special he's had, he's just been impressive after impressive after impressive.
Do you have a favorite drag queen?
I do not. I guess I'll go with RuPaul just off of knowing, like
Okay.
the most well known.
Well, I'll have to find some and introduce you to some. There's maybe some more. I don't want to say relevant. RuPaul's certainly relevant, but there's more contemporary performers. Do you have a favorite? So you're not going to have a favorite. I'm going to assume you don't have a favorite drag king.
Molly Stockholm.
Is that real?
She's a comedian. She dresses in drag sometimes.
And who?
Molly Stockholm.
Molly
she used to be in
Stockholm.
the Bay Area. I think she moved back.
Okay, I need to write that down. That's interesting, and I'd like to learn more about Molly Stockholm. Do you have a favorite drag princess?
I'm not even sure what that means.
Fair enough. A drag, in my opinion, a drag princess is like not quite a queen yet, but like on her way.
Gotcha.
That one is just to make me feel better about myself because there aren't many people that say they're drag princesses. So I'm gonna ask one more just self-serving question, just because I like the ego boost at the end of the show. Am I pretty?
Of course.
Okay. I just needed to hear that. Right on. Well, so I did look up Kurt Rambis, and we were both right, actually. Kurt Rambis started, this is the weirdest ending to the Suzette Veneti show ever. Kurt Rambis started 462 out of 880 games.
Get out of here.
He did. So this first, let's see, when he played through 82, 81 through, it really stopped in the 90s. But 82 through 90, he was starting the bulk of his games. No, I'm sorry. Only for first 4 years. And that's when they must have drafted, I don't know.
Probably James Worthy.
I was going to say James Worthy because he went from starting all of the games in 85 to 10 of the games in 86.
85 or 80, yeah, 85. I think either 84. I know James Worthy and Michael Jordan were teammates, so he was like either the year before or after him. So,
they started in 84, 85, 85, I believe. When he got traded to Charlotte, he started starting all of the games again until he went to Phoenix. I didn't even know he played in Phoenix or Charlotte.
I didn't know he played in Charlotte.
Right, and then he was not a starter anymore. So I'm just glad that we were both right. He was a starter, and he was not a starter.
There we go.
And that's the only time this show will ever talk about Kurt Rambis. We've talked about Bill Laimbeer quite a bit. With Sacramento comedian David Shapiro has a strong hatred for Bill Laimbeer.
He's a great guy to hate.
I don't like him myself. He's a pretty terrible person, but not as much as David, who just
he enjoys being hated. That was his job for like 10 years in the NBA.
Yeah, he's a terrible person.
I believe you. Probably not as bad as Karl Malone, but I'll take your word.
He's a terrible person. Yeah, he's a really terrible person. And on that note, that's the show. We didn't have Chelsea today. We didn't have David Shapiro. Thank you, Corey, for being here and filling my show with me and talking serious and non-serious and also sports with me. I don't get to do a lot of that, so I appreciate it.
Neither do I.
Well, there's just not a lot in the comedy world, and I'll tell you what, there's no surprise. There's less in the drag world of people that want to talk sports. So hopefully I'll get to meet you in person one day. Hopefully you'll have a great show on the 8th at Laugh Factory and the 22nd at the Broadway Comedy Club West in Santa Monica. I'll be rooting for you to have a great show. And if you're ever in Sac, hopefully you can come catch a brunch or we'll bump into each other at a comedy show sometime.
That sounds lovely either way. Looking forward to it.
I'd love it. And please apologize to your girlfriend for us on behalf of the Suzette Veneti show. We didn't mean to make you miss the call.
I will definitely be using you as a scapegoat. Thank you.
Please do. Please do. Okay. Thank you so much, and take care.
All right. You too.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Bye.
All right.
Okay, everybody, that was Corey Showtime Robinson. His information was below him on the screen. I think if it was, that's all Jesse, because I failed that part. So I just realized that just now when I said it. Also above me on the screen definitely is the information for Stab Comedy Theater. Support Corey, support Stab. Also, I'm going to have Suzette Veneti shirts, Suzette Veneti show shirts. I like Suzette Veneti shirts soon, so you can get those, and that supports Stab Comedy Theater as well, with the proceeds going to Stab Comedy Theater to help us have nice equipment to do this show. So thank you so much for supporting Corey. Thank you for supporting Stab. We'll be back next week on August 8th at 5:03 with Melanie Vesey, and it's going to be another great show. So have a great week.
Shit, ooh, I love it, yeah, yeah. Stumbling, but yeah, you're still looking hella fun. Keep doing what you're doing, and we'll make you mine. Well, you're a hot mess, and I'm falling for you, and I'm like, hot damn, let me make you my boo. 'Cause you can shake it, yeah, you know what